Yo, what is up guys? Welcome to another Wild Rift video, and in today's video I'm going to be showing you guys a tier list for every single role in the game. But today I'm going to change it a little bit. Today is going to be the underrated pick edition. So I want to do this new thing with tier lists that like every tier list I'm going to do something special like underrated pick or super broken or really good at poking or really good at solo carrying, really good at playing in duo queue, something like that. So if you have any ideas, put them in the comment and I'm going to do like different kinds of additions where I'm going to be mostly focused on that kind of addition, right? Like in today's tier list, there's timestamps in the description, by the way, to skip to the different tier lists. I'm going to talk about a lot of the very underrated picks and I'm going to give small explanations to it. So let's see how it goes, right? So we start with the Baron lane, and we all know about these three, right? Gragas, Renekton, Darius. We're not really gonna talk too much about them. Let's immediately get into the underrated pick edition, and I want to talk about Malphite here. But I don't want to talk about normal Malphite, because we also all know that normal Malphite is okay. I want to talk about full AP Malphite. Full AP, like full AP. No defensive item. This is underrated. And you know what? We're gonna make that today's video goal. If this video reaches, let's say 1,500 likes, I am gonna make a full AP Malphite video. Also, the AP Ezreal video, I'm working on it. But yeah, if you guys want to see it, then yeah, it's very underrated because it's one shot. Like if you reach the late game, you will one shot the squishies. You just will. There is no countering it unless this champion has a counter like Zaya's ultimate or Lulu's ultimate, things like that. But basically, when you have 4 or 5 items, you are gonna one shot. Your laning is insanely powerful too. I'm not gonna say too much about it. Just it's very underrated. Now, what else is underrated? Your boy Cannon, guys. There are some people that know the power of Cannon, but this champion, oh baby, if picked in the right draft, like it's such an insane champion. If you can flank enemies in team fights, use your ultimate on all of them, and just the amount of value that you provide is absolutely incredible because you're going to become tanky during your ultimate, and of course you're going to stun all of the enemies and you're going to deal an insane amount of damage. Combine this with a Liandry's Torment and you're literally going to burn down the entire enemy, guys. Very underrated pick. I'm also working on a video on him, by the way. And another very underrated one, we have Vayne. Guys, I've said it before and I'm going to say it again. Vayne Baron lane is one of the most toxic things that you can possibly play in Wild Rift. But why is she in the B tier? There is a simple reason for that, because normally the Baron lane, like if we look at all these good Baron laners, they're very tanky, right? Except for Cannon, for example. But why is Cannon still above Vayne? And the reason is that Cannon, you know, he has that insane team fighting potential. He has that insane team fighting potential. So it justifies him for being less tanky. But with Vayne, it's like you have to draft other people in your team that are tanky. Like your support and your jungler need to be tanky for you to pick Vayne in the Baron lane. And Vayne Baron lane only really works against like heavy melee matchups. You know, when you're laning against a Garen or Riven or like Darius, you're gonna absolutely demolish them. You are gonna absolutely demolish them, guys. Let me see. What is some other underrated? I mean, we all know that I think Nasus is underrated, but really the thing with Nasus is like, he is underrated because, you know, if you can farm up well and really know your boundaries with that champion, you are gonna do really well. But the thing is, he's just not that amazing in solo queue because, like, let's say you're not helping your team during the first 5 minutes. You know, let's say you're not rotating, which is what Nasus is supposed to do. They don't understand that. Like, your teammates are gonna tilt hard and they're gonna lose the game. That's what's so stupid about ranked matches. If you lose the early game, you basically have you have a bigger chance of losing the late game, even if your team has a good late game comp, because everyone is just so brain dead and they think that the game is over and they're gonna give up. And you know, while you're stacking up your Nasus, while you're becoming stronger, your ADC is already using his flash in the base saying dog Nasus, go AFK, you know, dog YouTuber, so bad, how you know, why do people watch you? But you know. I'm serious though, it has happened to me many times when I play Nasus. So even though he is underrated, that's kind of the bad side of him, right? Like, you kind of have to have good teammates that understand how Nasus works. Okay, on to the jungle list. So, yet again, we all know that these are the best 3. So that's why I made a different edition, right? So which one of the junglers By the way, I didn't script or anything. I'm just saying this out of my head. I just made the tier list and I'm looking at it right now and I'm gonna tell you guys who are the underrated junglers. First one is Graves. The reason that I'm saying that he's underrated is because he got nerfed, okay? We all knew before that Graves was good. We all knew that. But people are kinda underestimating Graves after the nerf. Because he did get nerfed. They nerfed his tankiness. But that doesn't mean that Graves is bad now. The thing is, even though they nerfed his tankiness, the later on you get into the game, the more HP he's gonna get anyways, and the less the nerf is gonna mean to him. So he is like, the late game Graves is incredibly powerful still, and good Graves players are still gonna absolutely steamroll games with this champion. Like, I'm not saying he's broken or anything like that, just telling you guys he's underrated. You know, he's stronger than you think. The next one is Olaf, and about Olaf, it's just, do you guys remember when Olaf was broken? And there was like one nerf that Riot Games gave to Olaf, which kind of made him unplayable. You know, people thought that he was bad, except for the pros. The pro players, the competitive teams, were really the only people that were still playing Olaf. But besides that, you would never really see him in solo queue. But let me tell you right now, if picked in the right draft, now the thing is, I don't know that much about Olaf, because I haven't played him too much, so I don't want to give you wrong information, but I know from seeing other people play it, and, you know, in my team and in enemy teams, if you pick it into the right draft, if he gets enough backup in team fights, he is incredibly powerful because of his ultimate, the unstoppable ultimate, his third ability, which deals true damage. Guys, he just has so much in his kit, so he's very underrated. You know, many people underestimate Olaf. The next one is Tryndamere, and this one is this one is 50-50. You know, 50% knows that Tryndamere is good now, and then you have the other 50% who still believes, like, yeah, it's just a Tryndamere, it's the trash champion that HellsDevil always puts in the D tier, so he must suck, right? No, I am not always right, guys. Tryndamere has always been decent, but people just kind of underestimated him. But now, especially after those changes, it's true that they nerfed him a little bit after giving him that massive buff, but still, the late game Tryndamere is beyond insane. All you have to do is get to that late game and he's just gonna steamroll everyone. So you have to be very careful of the enemy Tryndamere, or you might pick up Tryndamere yourself. I haven't made a personal Tryndamere video yet. I've only done one with Mozilla, but maybe I'll do it. I don't know. Maybe. We'll see. Let's see. I was gonna say Jax, by the way, but not really. Like, we all know how Jax works, right? Like, he's not really underrated because we know as a jungler he's just gonna farm and take turrets, right? Like, that's how Jax works. But the reason that I'm still gonna say Jax is because he can get fed incredibly fast through this method, because he takes the jungle really fast, he takes turrets really fast. So if he knows where to be at all times, he's gonna get like so ahead of everyone. Like, do you guys have those games where the enemy jungler Jax, like, you haven't seen him and you think like, what the hell is he doing? And then suddenly 5 minutes later he comes back with like a 3,000 gold lead. The reason why is because he's been pushing turrets, he's been taking jungle camps, you know, he's just farming, because that's what Jax is really good at. Okay. Let me see, did I miss anyone that's like severely underrated? Well, Camille, I would say, not really underrated, but she's just not useless in the jungle. I personally thought that she was going to be useless after the third ability nerf, but she can still jungle. She's still good at ganking. It's just like she's not good in the jungle anymore, but it still works. So when a teammate or an enemy picks Camille jungle, you shouldn't think like, man, that's Camille jungle, they nerfed her jungle, it doesn't work anymore. It's not bad, like, it's not horrible, it still works, it's just not amazing. Like, people tend to forget how broken Camille used to be in the jungle, and that's why this big change still makes her playable in the jungle. So keep that in mind. Okay, on to the mid lane. And okay, here, like, I thought when Veigar came out that he was gonna be broken, and the simple reason that he's not broken is because there are so many counterpicks. Yeah, so many. I mean, there are counterpicks to him. And if you really know how he works, you can really play around him. Like, you know, dodge the third ability. So I would say that he's an overrated champion. You know, this is the underrated edition, but he's overrated. And I overrated him as well. It's true that if you get into the late game, he's an absolute monster. But before that, he's like so useless. And, you know, champions like Katarina or Zed or... you know, these types of champions who have blinks, they can literally dash out of his third ability, making Veigar like so much more weaker in the laning phase. what is a very underrated mid laner, guys? It's Seraphim. And I immediately want to talk about Seraphim because this is a mid laner that I see some people utilize, but not enough. Not enough. Definitely not enough. So those few people that play it are often incredibly good at it because they know how strong Seraphim mid can be if picked into the right comp. I'm quickly going to tell you what the right draft is. And I have Seraphim mid videos if you want to check it out. Just look up HellsDevil Seraphim. But Seraphim is incredibly good against melee champions. If you're playing against a lot of melee champions, for example, if you're laning against a Diana and enemies have a lot more melee champions, boom, you pick the Seraphim and you're going to provide a lot of value. Now the next underrated champion, is going to be Aurelion Sol. And guys, Aurelion Sol is just like, he's not strong, okay? I'm not saying that he's strong. It's just in the right hands, this champion is so powerful in the late game. And also his ganking potential is really good. Like he has these selective powers, selective powers and a lot of weaknesses. But if you do play to those selective powers, if that makes sense what I'm saying, he's actually pretty powerful. The thing is though, I am still not good at him. I have played him a little bit. I do know his potential because I've seen it and some of my games went decently with him. But I just know that this is a very underrated champion. Like people think that he's useless, but he's not useless, guys. The next one is going to be Lux. Lux in the mid lane. You saw it in my recent video. Like so many people say, hey, you're trolling, you just picked Lux in the mid lane. In my rank matches, when someone goes Lux mid lane, it's not always respected. Like people sometimes say, why do you pick Lux in the mid lane? Lux is basically the same as Seraphim. Basically the same. If you pick it against a melee matchup, you can easily root them and do a lot of damage. It's so powerful in a lane matchup against a melee champion, guys. So it's basically the same story as Seraphim. And then the rest, not really underrated picks. Everyone is really respected properly. Galio, perhaps, but not really. A lot of people know that Galio is very strong. Okay, on to the Dragon Lane tier list. And this one gets very interesting because I'm actually going to quickly talk about this tier list because we have a massive change. And that massive change is the nerf to Kai'Sa and the buff to Lucian. Lucian's ultimate got buffed and Lucian was also quite underrated. Even though people played him a lot, I feel like Lucian is I feel like he's S+ tier. And perhaps barely S+ tier, like between the S tier and the S+ tier is what I would say. It's just because like now on top of his sustained damage and all of the damage that he has, his ultimate is even stronger as well. Especially when you reach level 5, your power spike is huge because they really buffed the damage of the ultimate, especially in the early game. The 5 damage may not seem like a lot, but it used to be 15 flat damage. Now it's 20 plus all of the attack damage that you have, right? So it's pretty big. Like it's a pretty big buff in the early game. Ezreal's, of course, like we all know Ezreal's broken. And then I want to talk about what might be the most underrated Dragon laner in the game. But this is, I would only say in the lower elos. Because in the high elo or competitive, well actually also in the high elo, but in the competitive play, people utilize this, which is Senna, guys. So when I play my ranked matches and I go for ADC Senna with like a Gragas support or Nasus support or whatever, like you can pretty much play any support with it, people tend to say like, what the hell are you doing, man? Senna is a support. Why are you playing her in the Dragon lane? Guys, come on. Senna Dragon lane, you just have to give all the farm to your support and you need to get the souls. And you go for full attack damage Senna, and oh boy, if you reach the late game, the range that you get and the damage is it's literally broken. It's literally broken. You only have to get through the early game and it becomes absolutely incredibly powerful. So one of the most underrated champions in the game, not Senna itself, but Senna in the Dragon lane. Then the next underrated champion is Ashe. And I am guilty of this too. Ashe is actually so powerful. Like, so powerful that in the recent tier list, I have put her in the S tier, and now I've put her on top of the A tier. She is so strong. It's just, yet again, like, you have to get through the early game, and even the early game she's decent, because she has the poking with her second ability. But once you get that ultimate, and you're really good at aiming the ultimate, you can literally gank other lanes, you can help your teammates in teamfights from all the way at the other side of the map. Your ultimate will stun the enemy for 3.5 seconds if it travels for so long. Do I need to prove to you again how long 3.5 seconds is? Because I did it in the last video when I took the mandarin or the piece of fruit from my thingy. So I don't have to prove it again. It's super long. So that's why Ashe is incredibly powerful. Also in the late game, she deals a lot of damage on top of all the CC that she has. Then the next underrated champion is Jhin. Jhin sucks. Okay? I'm not telling you Jhin is amazing, but he still sucks. However, if you are really good at Jhin, and if you pick him with the right support, I'm not saying that he's like the solo carry type of champion, but he can provide a lot of value to his team. His root is very powerful, especially now after the buff, and he has a lot of damage to squishy targets. Again, he's not broken, he's just underrated, because people still think like, if someone picks Jhin, he's trolling. No. If the Jhin is a good player, he can deal a lot of damage and provide a lot of value in the games. So the next underrated champion would be Orianna. Orianna in the Dragon Lane is not seen too much, but it's so powerful, especially paired up with a Nami, who goes for Staff of Flowing Water. You guys know that new item, which gives ability power and ability haste to the ally you're healing or giving barriers to. Orianna fits perfectly with that. And same with Ziggs, but people already knew that Ziggs in the Dragon Lane works, but Orianna also works, guys. Orianna in the Dragon Lane is also incredibly powerful. Okay, so we're gonna move on to the support tier list, and sorry guys, I don't know what's going on. What would be an underrated support? Like as I said, I kind of have to think about it. I would say Alistar. Alistar, even though not amazing, it's just like it's still the same Alistar. It's just like a lot of new champions came out that counter Alistar, but if you pick him into the right draft, he can still provide a lot of value in teammates. He's really good at ganks. He's the best turret diver in the game. There is not a single champion that's better at turret diving than Alistar. So ganking behind the turret, like, you know, the jungler can come up behind the turret, Alistar dives in, boom, the easy double kill. These are the things that Alistar can do, which no other support can do, really. So if you want to have a really aggressive playstyle, boom, you pick the Alistar and you can turret dive incredibly well. The next underrated one, and the reason that I'm saying underrated, even though people kind of know that he's good, is Thresh. Thresh is actually really strong. He's really strong. And he's especially strong with those people that really know how to play around his second ability. Because, you know, you can hook enemies, CC them, and then pull one of your allies towards you and kill him. There are so many different combos that you can do with Thresh. There are so many different things that you can do with Thresh. He's very high skill. But if you do reach that skill, he pays off massively. Massively. Like, incredibly massively. It's insane how strong people can get on this champion, guys. And then the other underrated champion, I mean, Blitzcrank. No, not really Blitzcrank. We all know how Blitzcrank works, but the reason that I still mention Blitzcrank is because really good Blitzcrank players know, like, they know what to do. Because with Blitzcrank, you don't want to stay in your lane. You want to be constantly rotating. You want to constantly annoy the enemy jungler by hooking his red buff and his blue buff. You want to gank the mid lane, you know. I have a Blitzcrank video where I played like that. Just look up HellsDevil Blitzcrank yet again and look at my most recent Blitzcrank video. It's like, you have to watch that one. If you haven't watched my Blitzcrank video yet, like, that's definitely one that you have to watch. I'm not gonna spoil it too much. Just in that video, I showcased the Blitzcrank playstyle that I'm talking about right now, which is underrated. So that was it for the tier list. I really hope you guys enjoyed this new style of tier list where I'm gonna focus on different things, because I felt like it was getting a little more stale, you know. It was getting a little more boring every time, the same tier list. So I kind of want to change it up a little bit. So let me know your thoughts about that. You know, give the video a like. If the video reaches that like goal, full AP Melvar, I guess, subscribe. And yeah, where is the camera? Oh, I haven't fixed my camera yet, but okay. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next Wild Rift video. Bye bye.